stay-at-home dad, watching Disney movies he never had. His daughter digs through all the VHS, crushing the classics in a princess dress. Informed like Scuttle, Kurt's got your ticket, making it real like Jiminy Cricket. Most are off the Captain Hook, but if the Tweedledum, he'll be taking more shots than Bambi's mom. Leave him raised like Simba, or cracked like the beach dishes. He'll show you a whole new world, you won't need 3 wishes. Stay-at-home Disney dad.
Alright, Cinderella. Well, I've seen clips of this movie at every turn. I've never seen the whole thing. This is why I'm doing this, folks. Large 1 milk for those who feel compelled to buy me a coffee sometime, just saying. Okay, spike the empty cup on the carpet and put me in, coach. It's Cinderella time. I have no idea what to expect. Animated storybook intro classic. Cinderella's loving mother passed away. Her father remarries. This time he marries an evil girl and then he dies as well. This is a lot to take in right off the top. Cinderella's relationship with her new stepsisters. Quote, Cinderella was abused and humiliated. Jesus, be careful not to soften this for me, Disney. Despite her brutal situation, Cinderella wakes up in a cheery mood, and even in rags, she's oh so beautiful. She's also friends with talking birds and mice, and I'm curious to see if this is later revealed as some sort of like Life of Pi coping with real trauma plot twist somewhere in the 3rd act. She sings, "A dream is a wish your heart makes," and I'll be damned if I never knew what movie that historical piece of Disney music originated from. I wouldn't say it gave me goosebumps, but it dragged me back through my memories of being at Disney World with my kids, hearing that song in every gift shop and restaurant. And the warm memories associated with it. Okay, for those of you who are new to this series, my wife and I have taken our kids to Disney World 5 times now, met characters, rode every ride, seen every stage show, but until about 6 or 7 months ago, I had only legitimately seen 4 or 5 Disney movies. Okay, the mean stepmother has a cat, of course she does, named Lucifer, of course it is, and even Lucifer takes great joy in Cinderella's suffering, of course he does, he's a cat. Cats take joy in anyone's suffering. Okay, regroup. This backstory rains down hard and fast, but the pictures being painted here are: number 1, life sucks for Cinderella. Number 2, despite being an abused and humiliated slave, she remains cheery and beautiful. Atta girl. We meet the king. The king wants a grandchild, his son. The prince does not currently have access to a uterus, so you see the problem here. We go back to the ugly stepsisters who are singing and playing the flute while stepmom plays the piano. Singer can't sing, nor can the flutist flute. Lucifer the cat is cringing and covering his kitty ears, and I just saw this clip for the first time ever floating around Facebook a few weeks ago, and over top the audio was Fergie butchering the US national anthem before some basketball game. Google it if you haven't seen it, it's awesome. Cinderella continues to scrub the floor by hand, still looking classy and beautiful, when it's announced that the prince is throwing a party, and it's mandatory that all the eligible maidens attend so that he can pick a mate. Yikes! In a rare Disney female movie moment, Cinderella is actually aware of her own outstanding beauty and is excited to strut her slave stuff for the prince. So predictably, she is relentlessly mocked for thinking she would actually get to go. The evil stepmother says she can in fact go, quote, if she completes all of her chores, implying she will sabotage poor Cinderella's chance of getting her chores done on time, but apparently Cinderella gets them done without incident and even has time to dig out her dead mother's special dress. Maybe I said that wrong, as the scene plays out touching instead of bleak. Luckily for Cinderella, as well as being fluent in the English language, her mice friends are also advanced seamstresses and alter the dress to fit Cinderella. Now, while the dress needing to be altered doesn't seem important to the overall movie, I'm completely blown away by this and think it silently connects some serious dots. Cinderella is rocking the classic, i.e. unattainable and possibly healthy to strive for, perfect female body. So if you read between the lines, we are to assume her mom did not have the similar Disney female body. So maybe Cinderella's mom was a little heavier. So when Cinderella's dad looked for a second wife and married this horrible woman, did he overlook all of the evil hag's obvious despicable characteristics and happily tie the knot with her only because she was skinny? The second time he went for looks and not personality? Oh yeah, fact, before death, Cinderella's dad was a shallow narcissist, self-absorbed man who valued appearance over all other qualities. Fascinating, prove me wrong. Okay, the animals alter her mom's dress, and that is a sweet deal, as I'm personally sick of paying $34 plus tax to hem 2 pant legs because I'm short. Cinderella stares out the window, and we see the glowing castle, and okay, pause. Now I have legit goosebumps. I was not expecting this. I'll be damned if the castle in this movie doesn't look identical to the real thing in Disney World. Once again, I'm swept back to Orlando with my wife and kids, snapping picture after picture of everyone in front of that impressive structure with zero context. Cinderella's castle has meant nothing to me until this very second. And just take a step back and think about this playing out in real life. At some point, a team of architects were paid to study this cartoon and replicated an animated castle to scale. So all of Disney World's Magical Kingdom theme park could be filled in around it. The image of a team of stereotypical construction workers erecting this thing makes me very, very happy. They had to have known how special this was going to be. This had to have been the job they showed up for every day, smiling from ear to ear. Can you imagine telling your grandkids you helped build Cinderella's castle? That's the ultimate construction story that trumps all other construction stories. Hey, Sully, congrats on the new high-rises. Nah, I ain't busting your balls. You should be proud, but let me ask you this. You ever wish upon a star, you sorry chump? Goosebumps, yeah, okay. Goosebumps. The animals reveal her dress, and I'm pretty sure we have the first ever in movie history pre-girl slow descent down a staircase revealing her gorgeous dress scene. Pause the VHS and marvel at this moment. This has to be where it came from. Hashtag John Woo, hashtag every 80s movie, hashtag every 90s movie making fun of every 80s movie. The jealous stepsisters come unglued. They tear Cinderella's dress. They try to tear it off the poor gal's body and they leave her in tears and unfit to attend the ball. And then they leave without her. Imagine living in an era where moving companies did not expect scenes like this to be deeply troubling to young minds. I'm horrified. Cinderella is finally broken and runs into the creepy courtyard bawling her eyes out, and rightfully so. She's surrounded by trees and I half expect her to start fashioning a noose when poof, her fairy godmother shows up. What in the bluebird hell? I'll take a sip while you appreciate that line. Okay, so Cinderella is being long-term abused and humiliated, and that was never worth a visit. But the sisters tear up one dress, and guess who gets off the bench and into the game? What a bibbity-bobbity. Anyway, fairy godmother is here to help, and as Fergie would say, let's play some basketball! This is it. She sings Bibbidi Bobbidi Boo while transforming a pumpkin into a stagecoach and her talking mice into horses, and I'm invested like all in. This is incredible. It's like I'm once again watching the movie Blueprints to Disney World. Godmother fixes her dress, making it translucent and sparkly blue-white. How iconic is this dress? When it was time to pick out classic princess dresses for my one-year-old daughter from the Disney store, I had the Ariel one in my hand ready to go. No discussion at all, but despite my childhood attachments to The Little Mermaid, one of the 4 Disney movies I had ever seen, all it took was one look at the Cinderella dress to realize that is the real dress. And all other princess dresses are nothing but cash grabs trying to be that dress. Fairy godmother sends Cinderella on her way, but warns her about the cruel midnight deadline. My mother used to tell my older sister if she wasn't back home by midnight, quote, she would turn into a pumpkin, which I now get to properly dissect and realize that in my mother's scenario, my sister would not be Cinderella, but in fact be the stagecoach. So was my sister giving people rides? The mind bends. Back at the ball. One by one, all the available women parade themselves up to the prince, who judges them 100% on their physical appearance. Yeah, he yawns, uninterested. He yawns right into their faces, and 2020 weeps. The king is furious, but some of their servant guy that never leaves his side is bored and uses his monocle like a yo-yo, and that's kind of funny. I know how this ends, but in the moment, I so badly want the prince to be secretly gay. 2020 would cheer. The stepsisters are making the walk of judgment when the prince looks through them and sees Cinderella making her entrance. He gets up, walks towards the stepsisters, then pass them to greet Cinderella. How do you like me now? Prince is immediately smitten at the sight of Cinderella, and apparently skyrockets him through immediate puberty, and then they dance, and this is some really good stuff here. I'm a grown man and I'm buying into this fairy tale. I can't imagine what it would be like watching this as a little girl, experiencing romance on the big screen for the first time. This is the sort of dreamy, soft focus montage they built their entire empire upon, and rightfully so. The castle is amazing again, and all I can think about is how many times I walked by it and threw it in Florida and didn't appreciate the history behind it. The clock strikes midnight, the jig is up, she bounces. The pacing and animation here is off the charts. The horses revert back into mice, and the carriage reverts back into a pumpkin. The ride's over. Cinders reverts back to torn dress slave Cinderella and hides in the bushes from the prince. For some reason, the glass slippers didn't disappear. Anyway, she lost one at one point, and the plot thickens. The king is dreaming about grandkids, and this obsession is borderline creepy. The king is told the receptacle of his future grandchildren disappeared, and I swear to God, the king starts angrily waving Lumiere in his servant's face before using a sword to cut a very phallic cigar in half the long way. That was disturbing. Moving on. Not all is lost, as they have retrieved one missing glass slipper, so the rest is easy. Just go from house to house, getting all the women to try on the slipper. When it fits, boom, there's your gal. Because no 2 women in the world have the same size feet, and apparently the prince can't remember what she looks like from the ankle up. There's probably a word for that, but forgive me if I don't Google it and forever have that in my search engine. Reading between the lines, The prince is starting to become a very complex character. I should note, in the real non-Disney fairy tale, the stepsisters cut their toes off to make their feet fit the slipper. How wonderfully bleak is that? Roll that idea around in the animated studio animators' heads. Cinderella hears this foot fetish tour and drops breakfast. See, part of Cinderella's beauty is her tiny feet, which is actually more cruel to women than the whole skinny princess body. I mean, if done healthily, long-term pre-planned diet and fitness program, one can actually lose weight. However, if you strive to be more like a Disney princess, one cannot make their feet smaller. Cinderella seems a little more confident and cocky here. I'm also a little confused because last night she ran away because she was a slave, but today she's okay with the prince discovering her slaveness. I guess having to explain why her carriage was a pumpkin and her horse's mice might have been uncomfortable. You get my point, who cares? The evil stepmother locks Cinderella in the attic and takes her glass slipper. The prince's people arrive and the stepsisters fight over the slipper. The slipper is way too small for the stepsisters, and we are reminded that big feet apparently equal ugly girl. The mice steal the key to the attic, the cat stops them, and the other mice and birds smash plates, and cutlery and other household objects over the cat's head. The second stepsister comically forces the slipper on her foot and it pops off. Cinderella is running out of time. Where is the godmother? Finally, the dog chases away the cat and Cinderella makes her surprise appearance, but the evil stepmother trips the guy and he drops the other slipper and it breaks. It's all over. It's over, Cinderella. But then Cinderella produces the other slipper and surprise, it perfectly fits, and the princess found his flight risk princess. Really think about that. Cinderella could have pulled off the biggest con job in the Disney universe. She could have had a glass slipper made to fit her foot and had been in cahoots with the old hag, planning the whole trip and shatter the real slipper swerve ahead of time. But regardless, we get our happy ending and she leaves with the prince and we roll credits. And wait, what? What became of her horrible family? Did the stepsisters get their comeuppance? Did Cinderella grind her evil stepmother's face into the glass slipper shards before leaving? Come on, Disney, I need that circle completed. No villain goes unpunished in the Disney canon. All right, I've seen a copy of Cinderella 2 in the bin, so I'm just going to assume that that one starts with some horrific Game of Thrones retribution where the blue birds poke out the stepsister's eyes while the evil stepmother is paraded through the kingdom while everyone spits on her. If not, I toss my hat into the writing of Cinderella 1.5. That's what I do. And I perfectly animate it to the 80s hairband Cinderella's hit song, I'm Coming Home. Wow, get me a pen. This one writes itself.
That's what I think about.
What do you think?
What we have is a concern about Curtis Anderson. His interviewing style is not the best. His personal appearance is not the best. I was wondering if the man has some kind of a hold over the channels that he's allowed to be employed for so long with the standards of journalism and personal appearance that he has. Thank you.